Hi, my name is Peggy McKee, and I'm the Executive Recruiter at PHC Consulting. We specialize in sales, sales management, marketing, and technical support for the medical industry. Today I want to talk to you about a behavioral interview and what that means and how to deal with it. Behavioral interview is a very common and useful style of interviewing used by hiring managers to determine whether or not a candidate is a good fit for their job. Now they're looking for three things. They're looking for content, so if you're an accountant, what degrees do you have in accountancy? What experience do you have? Maybe they'll ask you some challenging questions about that. They're looking for functional, your ability to deal with others, how well you communicate, those type of things. And then they're looking for self-management, and this is how you handle yourself in situations that are difficult with adversity and perhaps without constant management overseeing you. Okay, so to determine whether or not you have these skill sets that they've identified, they're going to ask you a bunch of different kinds of questions. And those questions are going to be theoretical, like how would you deal with this situation? What if you were faced with Y? So there's theoretical questions, what ifs. They're going to talk to you about leading questions. Sometimes they may say, so you're okay with high travel, is that right? Okay, so that's a leading question. And then they're going to ask you behavioral questions like, tell me about a time when you faced adversity. Tell me about a time when you disagreed with your boss. Tell me about an issue that you've had with a coworker. Tell me about your weaknesses and how they've affected your work. Tell me about your strengths and how they've affected your work. Give me an example of a time when you've had to deal with a customer who was irate or upset. What did you do? Okay. Now, the key with all interviews is to remain calm and to remember that you never change, even if the interview questions do. Basically, you are one package, and it is your job, your responsibility to deliver that package in such a format that the hiring manager can't not hire you. They would be making a mistake if they moved on without you. And the way that you do that with this kind of questioning is you need to think through a lot of these questions. Look up these questions on the internet. They have thousands of interview questions throughout the internet. And go through those questions and thinking about them in terms of the answer that you would provide. And then you need to think of a time, the adversity piece, the conflict piece, the irate manager piece, perhaps dishonesty piece. Think about all of those times and think about experiences that you have that are relevant to those and how you would package those experiences. For example, Mr. Field Service Engineer, how would you deal with a customer that when you come in the door is irate and will barely speak with you, won't hardly even look at you, and you're supposed to fix their equipment? Okay, so you can't just say, well, I'll fix the customer, then I'll fix the equipment. You have to say, well, first of all, I would let the customer have the opportunity to vent, to tell me exactly what's going on, and I would never downplay the anxiety that person feels. I would empathize with them. Yes, I can see how that would be upsetting. Gosh, I can't imagine how much stress you must be under at this point. I'm sure this is causing a lot of disruption to your life. So those empathetic questions or empathetic answers where you make the customer feel as if you really do understand their pain. And then at that point, after I had communicated to the customer that I completely understand their pain, that I'm on their side, and that I want to make this right for them, at that point you could transition into, tell me about what's going on, who's the lead tech, who experienced the issue, what were the variables around that issue, all those questions that you have that you've been trained to ask. And then at that point, and this is how you would describe to the interview, at that point I would identify what the issue is as best as I can using all the resources that I have available to me, which is one, my training, my background, my experience, and then my ability to call technical support in-house. And then once I had identified what the problem was, I would communicate that with the customer so that they would understand where we are in the process. I wouldn't allow them to be sitting over there wondering where we are. I would say, here's the problem, here's the fix that I have in place. If that doesn't work, then here's my second option, but I will absolutely have your instrument, equipment, whatever the product is, up and running in X or Y hours. Gain their agreement that's going to work for them. Ask if they have any questions. Do whatever you can to try to help them feel better about your situation. Continuing to communicate during the entire time. Fix the instrument, equipment, whatever it is, and then ask the customer if they are pleased with the solution that you've put in place. Is this working to the level that you're satisfied with? Are you pleased with this? Is there something else that I can do for you? Is there another problem that I have not addressed? Are you completely satisfied with the service that you've received here today? So you've walked through, you didn't say, hey, I'll fix the product, I'll fix the customer. You've walked through, how you're going to talk with the customer, you're going to empathize with the customer, you're going to find out the exact variables, you're going to identify the problem, put a solution in place, communicate that to the customer, then do the solution, then come back to the customer and communicate, asking if they are pleased with the results of the work that you've done. So you see, that's an entire story, and any time that you can quantify any one of these stories, so if they've asked in the past, tell us about a significant event while you were working at XYZ Corporation. Well, we had a customer who did $100,000 worth of business with us. They were very upset. This was the problem. Here's how I attacked it. I gained agreement from my employer to do Y. I partnered with so-and-so to do X. Then we were able to make whatever occur, and then the customer was pleased with us to the extent that they've actually referred another customer to us that was worth $50,000 in additional revenue. Now, salespeople are very good about remembering those numbers and putting that into the interview context, or if they're not that good a salesperson. But folks who are in marketing, technical support, field service, those people aren't as naturally open about the numbers and quantification, and they don't truly even think about them. But if you're about to interview for a position and you're one of those people, you need to do that. You need to go through and quantify. Think about times where you can quantify either profits that you've helped the company make, losses that you've stopped the company from enduring, number of customers that you've saved, number of customers that you were able to convert, the speed at which you did that compared to your peers. If you only do 5 things, maybe 5 doesn't seem like a very large number to you, but if your peers only did 3 or 4, then you are significantly better than them. And communicating that is going to show the employer, 1, that you did do those things, and 2, that you can communicate and think in a fashion that is going to be positive for you, positive for the company, positive for your career, and that you have tools for the customer that are going to be useful for years to come. And when you do all those things, and then at the end of the interview you ask, or at the end of each question, do you understand? Are you clear? Do I need to clarify? Do you have any additional questions? When you ask those kinds of questions at the end of the interview, then you ask for the next step within the interview, and you've packaged yourself. You are no different. You've just taken the time to make sure that you've got yourself packaged in the way that the customer, or in this term, I always think customer, but in the way that the interviewer wants to receive that information. If they're proceeding in this type of interview, if you've given them that information, then you have the right to ask for, will you be considered, will you continue in the interviewing process, what are the next steps, and what can you do to continue forward in the interview process. If you do all those things, you're going to do great. And I just think that you have to remember that every interview, although they are different styles, they're really only looking for one thing, and that is for you to convince them to make you a job offer. And you can do that through quantifying, through great examples, through thinking out what you've done in the past so that you can package it for them in that interview. So good luck. I wish you the best of luck. If you have any questions at all, you can call PHC Consulting or check out our website at www.phcconsulting.com. Thank you.